everybody want to be black. Yo, this is crazy. We lit. Everybody and their mother wants to be a black American.
I am a black American with descendants from Africa that came from the slave trade in the Americas through Puerto Rico and into the United States.
What timeline are we on? All of a sudden, these people that have been me no black, Papi Chulo me no black, now all of a sudden he's a black American.
The difference between Puerto Ricans that are black and black people that are black in the United States of America is a boat stop. Do you people not understand your history? That the vast majority of Puerto Ricans have descendants of slavery from Africa? This is like basic.
Being black American is not synonymous with being African or having African ancestry.
Literally over 40,000 slaves were traded from Puerto Rico into the Americas, and many of them landed in the United States. I am as black as you. This is to me that a lot of you think that Puerto Ricans are Latino and not black.
Black American is an ethnic marker. It is not just race. I can't stand that now everybody's trying to fall under the umbrella of black because of race.
Where do you think the term Afro-Latino comes from? You think we were just bored and we invented that shit? I want you to tell me where that man came from if it was not straight from the slave trade in Africa. I mean, I really fucking know.
First of all, that's new age. Y'all ain't never was calling yourselves Afro. Okay, that is new age. Just like Latinx and all of these other things that y'all are now assigning yourselves to be inclusive with black Americans. This is so odd. And just because you have some African ancestry does not mean that you are a black American.
Suddenly, everybody's claiming to be a black American. And that is why I'm telling y'all black Americans to start gatekeeping your culture, your lineage. Because if you don't, it's going to be erased. And that erasure has already started happening. You're seeing it. These same people who are claiming to be black Americans are the ones who said, I'm not black, I am Puerto Rican, I'm not black, I am Jamaican, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. You've heard them. Many of them distanced from being a black American before. So why are they now interested in identifying as black Americans? What are the real causes behind this? Anyway, if you've been listening to that lady, the lady who was responding to that Puerto Rican man, shout out to her. She's very smart. I really like how she responds to some of these immigrants. She does a great job breaking things down and giving people clarity they need to understand what they have been missing. So I'm gonna let you watch these other clips and we come back at the end.
If the definition of being African American is that you have to be born from parents that are black from the United States, I got bad news for you. Kamala Harris is not black and Barack Obama is not black. Barack Obama's mother is white and his dad is from Africa, just like me. My mother is white and my dad is black from Africa, from the descendants of slaves. Born in a territory of the United States of America, so I am technically black and American, which makes me African American. The same thing with Kamala Harris, whose mother is from India and whose father is from Jamaica. Jamaica is like an hour from us, Puerto Rico, but she's black. But you got to stop it with this shit. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans that you can trace their heritage all the way back to Africa, to the times of slavery. And there's many of us, like me, that are black. Now, if you're defining that black might be a person that's lighter or heavier skin, then we can talk about a lot of other human beings, like Steph Curry and a lot of other people that are lighter skin and are still black. Stop it with this horse shit. It's so old. You gotta stop saying weird shit on the internet.
I'm leaving. What y'all think about this? Spread love, this is the Brooklyn Way. That Puerto Rican man is black American now. Talking about slave shit. Sir, Puerto Rico is merely a territory of the USA. Y'all don't even vote for the president of the United States of America. We are not the same people. We are not of the same lineage. This is so bizarre. Puerto Ricans, black Americans? I need y'all to answer the question.
I will always support African Americans in wanting to gatekeep their culture because the erasure is real. Gatekeep your culture, period. As an Afro-Latina, trust me, I know firsthand, erasure is real.
This right here says Puerto Ricans are not generally classified as black American, okay? But rather Caribbean Latinos with significant, ancestry. Only 12 to 18% identifies. Most possess a mixed or triracial heritage of indigenous, Taino, European, and African descent. So the average Latino is triracial, so to speak, but a lot of them are European presenting. Like, let's just keep it real. And then he went on to say, oh, where do you think the term Afro-Latino? Y'all are really dragging it. Like, I don't know what's going on. You all keep saying we having an identity crisis. No, y'all are having an identity crisis real bad. Because it's really sad and a little pathetic at this point. Since when are you a black American, Mr. Puerto Rico? Since when? I promise to God, if I got up here and said I was Puerto Rican, do you know how much pushback? I'm going to try it. Watch. We're going to do some experiments. I would be getting so much pushback. Oh, well, I'm Puerto Rican because Puerto Rico was a U.S. territory. Well, Puerto Ricans, they like, what? And for the last time, it's so annoying. Get it correct. Notice how he didn't say I am African Puerto Rican. He said I'm a black American. I'm just as black. That man is just as black as me.
So listen, if the definition of being African American is that you have to be born.
Please don't get mad. I'm saying this with love. And this is the same conversation that I've had with my own family. But someone who is Afro from Puerto Rico is not the same as an African American. And when you make a video like this, you're invalidating the lived experience of Black Americans who grew up here in the States versus Afro-Latinos who grew up in Puerto Rico, okay? I'm saying this as someone who's the daughter of a white Puerto Rican who was raised in Rio Piedra and whose grandparents were from Culebra and Vieques. And my father is a Black American descendant of slavery from Camden, New Jersey, okay? When you take the words African and you put them together, you get a cultural identity and an ethnicity, one of which you don't belong to. You can say Afro-Latino, you can say I'm American, but to say African American, that's not a cultural or ethnical subset that you belong to. There's an explicit difference. And please mind that the colonization and how enslavement was handled in the Spanish colonies was different than how it was handled in the United States. And remember that the United States took over in what? 1898. So the cruelties that happened to enslaved people on the mainland happened for 300 more years before the United States took over Puerto Rico. Also, the caste systems were completely different. The anti-blackness that happens within Latinidad was to breed out the blackness, whereas in the United States, we had the one-drop rule because that's how we ended up with more enslaved people. If your mother was a slave, then you were a slave, and it didn't matter how light you were. So please, like I'm saying, they're different. I'm not saying don't be proud of the heritage that you have. Be proud of it. I'm saying that African American and Afro-Latino and also American are not interchangeable terms. That's all. That's all the Black people are trying to say. Say that you're not African American. American, and you can be Afro-Latino, but you cannot African American because that is its own category.
Because you keep saying we, you know, and it's like your kind of connection with the Black. You're Cuban, like
first.
Yeah,
I'm Black first.
So
what I always
ask,
say, people,
how you identify
but
yourself.
Are you full Cuban? I thought he was Black too.
I
am Black.
No,
I am
here's
Black.
Everyone thinks that you are Black lineage.
All right,
like,
so
you know, like
let me explain how it works. That I feel like we people get caught up in that
semantics
that separates us as opposed to uniting us. We get caught up in where the ship dropped us off versus where the ship picked us up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We all come from the tree with different branches. The same boat that picked up your ancestors picked up my ancestors. They made a pit stop in the Caribbean and dropped. Mm-hmm. But my ancestors still dealt with slavery. Mm-hmm. You know, still dealt with being, you know, having their lives ripped from them to come back from colonialism and slavery. Mm-hmm. You know, so and it's not just African Americans, it's Dominicans, it's Afro Puerto Ricans, like. All these people got to get out of their colonialized minds. Stop thinking, oh, I'm not this, I'm this. Okay, yeah, you can be Latin first.
And that takes us apart when we all have the same struggle. We all experience
100%.
the same struggle.
Because when I walk into a room, they ain't thinking, oh, we're going to give him a pass because he's Latin. Yeah. Or if a cop pulls me over, he's not like, okay, I'm not going to shoot him or I'm not going to beat his ass because he's Cuban. Mm-hmm. No, I'm Black. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm dealing with the struggle. So we all gotta unite and fight for the struggle together because we're all the exact same struggle.
So recently I've been debating people on being mixed phobic because apparently I'm wrong for saying Latinos romanticize their slave capturers, but they do. I have books, scholars, and text to back it up. And Native Americans in the comments were actually going against the Afro-Latinos and agreeing with me that Latinos represent your Spaniard colonizers, and the massacre, the whitening is why that happened. And people don't know what whitening is. Basically, the whitening was when slave owners, Spanish specifically, and Portuguese, felt as if the slaves were outnumbering them. So in order to keep their numbers high, they had to romanticize the relationship with the slaves. So they would start to fall in love with the lighter mixed slaves, give them better treatment. And by giving those slaves better treatment, those slaves would go on and tell other mixed slaves that if you stay with slave master, you sleep with slave master, you sleep with the white man, your money will whiten it. Your money whitens. So they create this culture where the lighter slaves continue to get better treatment, and that end up mixing all the races, and it romanticized the culture to the point where you can't identify who's a Spaniard and who is a native. Now they just say we're Latino. So now you have Latinos coming to America, and Latinos are saying, no, blacks don't, we can help outnumber the Europeans because, you know, you have black Latinos. And blacks are like, you identifying as Latino don't help us because that means whites got more people. 67% of y'all are Republicans, vote for Trump, and Spanish is Latino. What are you talking about? Like, the only piece of black in you is from a long time ago. The reason you're reading called the one drop rule, I'm just going back to some awesome parts to show you guys a better definition of what I mean. But there's Latinos, this book describes how Latinos, the romanticizing the slave masters, have created a culture where today's Latinos who are descendants of slavery get offended by anything that, oh, white this, don't say that, because white people not that bad. No, we are they slave, we lost. Just think that they're not that bad. I'm black, but I'm not that black. I'm not that black. You guys cry, you guys complain. And the black that's talking in them is literally, they're right. They know black. That's the only black in them. I'm gonna show you guys a better picture because the native guy is right. He said it's Mexicans coming across that have them than they do Mexican. And I was like, what? Nigga, look at this real quick. I dropped my bookmark. Look at the levels of blackness that they're coming. You got these Latinos that are basically 1% black saying don't say anything disrespectful to people.
But you know what I don't like about some of the Afro-Latinos? They'll make videos about how surprised other Hispanic and Latinos are when they see them speak Spanish because they feel like the other Hispanics and Latinos can't believe that they're Hispanic or Latino because they look black. But they would never talk about the actual black people who are also surprised at them. Not all black people, but there's a lot of black people who sit on this app and say, there's some black people that will say, oh no, we're talking about the Afro-Latinos who are black. But then you have black people who will make millions of videos saying all Hispanics, all Latinos are black. They'll say Jennifer Lopez is black. They'll say Mark Anthony is black. They'll say Ricky Martin is black. And then when they see an actual Afro-Latino or Afro-Latina or whatever, they'll be surprised when they speak Spanish, like, what? You speaking Spanish? But then the Afro-Latino and Afro-Latinas come here and make these videos only about the Hispanics that look like me. When y'all know damn well there's black people who's surprised that y'all are speaking Spanish as well. They'll come on here and say you're black. Of course the Afro-Latinos are. They'll come on and say Jennifer Lopez is black, Mark Anthony is black, but they don't really mean that. A lot of them make those videos just because, you know, they like how certain people look, so they would like to be black. But my thing is that why do y'all get so offended when a white-looking or a mixed-looking Hispanic is surprised that y'all speak Spanish, but y'all don't get offended when there's a black person who is surprised, because they do get surprised. In fact, in New York, a lot of black people get surprised when they see a dark Puerto Rican, and nobody would dare talk about that. To be honest, I used to live in Hialeah in Miami, and those Cubans, I lived around a bunch of Cubans and Colombians. They all honestly looked white. I never seen a black Cuban a day in my life till I was 15. I was about 14 years old. My friend's mother, that was the first black Cuban I have ever seen. Was I surprised? Not really, but it was my first time. There's been times I've been sitting right next to a black American person, and here comes the Afro-Latina or Latino start speaking Spanish, and they're like, he speaks Spanish? What the fuck? I've seen American black people be just as surprised, but for some reason, y'all only speak about the other Hispanics in y'all little skits. Are y'all scared or something?
After slavery, many Latin American countries adopted a national idea called zahe, the belief that everyone is mixed and race no longer matters. On the surface, it sounds unifying, but from the outside looking in, what it often did was erase black identity. Instead of centering African descendants in history, blackness was absorbed into culture, while black people themselves were pushed out of the narrative. And this is where things start to overlap with the black American experience. Colorism didn't stop at borders. Lighter skin was rewarded. Darker skin was penalized. From what Afro-Latinos themselves have said, blackness often becomes something to explain away rather than something to claim. That's not a judgment. That's a system at work.
It's rainy, I'm sleepy, and I might repeat myself like Dr. Umar, but I wanted to get this point across, okay, very clearly. If you have eyes to see, and ask me what am I, and I say black, and then your response to that is, no, but like, what's your background, like where your parents are from? And they're Dominican, Haitian, whatever Afro-Latino variety that I may be. And you turn around and say, oh, but you're not really black, I'm gonna know you're the problem. I'm gonna know that you're playing racial colorism oppression Olympics, and I don't want to be part of that game. Okay, so if people are telling you they're black, and you into their eyes that they're clearly Afro-Latino or not from the United States, for whatever you can tell by their bone structure, by their accent, by their skin tone, by whatever you think is separating you from them, and they respond to you after you ask them, "What are you?" Black. And that's not a good enough response, you are causing the problems that you're saying everyone else is causing. Like at this point, let's keep it a bean. If nobody else wants to say this, I'm going to say it. Okay? Because if I say I'm Dominican, you're going to be like, oh, but you're black though. Okay? Okay? That's fine. That's fine. There's no that at all. See what I look like. So why ask the question if you already know what I look like? Right. Because there's this weird obsession with dividing people that don't fit the exact look, the prototype of blackness. And it is a turn off for Latinos or Latinos of the Afro variety that they don't really care to play this game. If you see me and you see what I look like, and to you I look like a black woman, then that's what I am. If I tell you that I'm Afro-Latina, I tell you that I'm this, that, and the other, accept it for what it is. Don't make it more of what it ain't. Okay? It's getting goofy.
I went straight to TikTok. I passed through the TikTok channel of the Puerto Rican man at the beginning who is claiming to be a black American. I have watched a bunch of videos that he created, and looking at them, he is not a bad person. He has been advocating for unity, has been speaking against racism, has been speaking against discrimination, has been speaking for black Americans. But again, what he said about him being a black American, he got that part wrong. And I don't think he got it wrong because he was trying to disrespect black Americans. I think the reason why he got it wrong is because he does not understand the difference between race, ethnicity, and identity. And yes, as he said, Puerto Ricans has got African roots. But you have to understand how Puerto Rico became how it is today. Puerto Rico was colonized by Spain for 400 years. During that time, Spanish brought enslaved Africans to work on their plantations, just like what happened in the other parts of the Caribbean. But here is where it gets different. In Puerto Rico, you had a mixing of 3 different groups. There were Africans who were taken from Africa to go and work as slaves. There were the Spanish colonizers. And then the Taino people who were already living on that land before the arrival of those European colonizers. And as time passed, Puerto Rico became a mixed society. That is why today you have Puerto Ricans who are light-skinned like him. dark-skinned, different identities in one place. Now, compare that to Black Americans who did not go through that mixing system in the same way. Yes, of course, we know that there are many Black Americans who mixed with their slave masters and other indigenous tribes that were already living in America, but not as what happened in Puerto Rico. So even though these two groups have African ancestry, their histories are not the same. And there is a part that many people are missing and have been seeing it among Black immigrants living in America. Just because you have African roots, it will not automatically make you a Black American. Black Americans are not only defined by the color of their skin or their origin. They are also defined by their lineage and their unique experience in America. And that is why when that Puerto Rican man said, my ancestors are from Africa, so I can call myself a Black American, that is where the issue comes from. And this is not only about Ruiz, that is the name of that man, the Puerto Rican man who is calling himself a Black American. It's the trends that we're seeing happening in America. We are seeing many Latinos migrating from Dominican Republic, from Trinidad and Tobago, from Jamaica, even Africans. They go to America, they live there for 10 years, they learn their accent, they start mixing with Black Americans, and then all of a sudden they start calling themselves Black Americans. There's a big issue that is happening in the Black American community, and that is why you have seen Black Americans starting a movement of delineating themselves from these other groups. And I want these immigrants to understand that when these Black Americans are pushing back, it's not because they hate them, it's not because they want division, it's not because they don't want unity, but it is because they want to preserve their own identity. They want to protect their own lineage. Because think about it, if everybody can go to America and then start saying that I am a Black American just because I have dark skin color or because I have an African ancestry, then what is going to happen over time? That Black American identity is going to be watered down. According to what we have already started seeing, confusion has already started happening. Let me give you a simple example so nobody misunderstands this. Look at China and Japan. If you really go deep into the history, you can find similarities between these two countries. Some of their people even look alike. But you will never see Chinese person calling themselves Japanese or Japanese calling themselves Chinese. That is because they respect the difference in identity, culture, and history. And that is what Black Americans are asking for. They want unity, they want respect, but they also want differences to be clear. So to that Puerto Rican man, as I said, I have visited his TikTok account. He's doing a great job. He's fighting against racism and discrimination by calling himself a Black American. That is where he missed it. A Black American identity is not just about where your ancestors came from. It is about a specific history that took place in the United States. And shout out to all of those Black Americans who corrected him. And that is what I'm asking y'all Black Americans to start doing. You have to start defining who you are. If you don't define who you are, somebody else will do it. And if you don't protect your identity, it will slowly be taken, reshaped, and eventually lost. So if you have watched this video until this time, I want you to write down there in the comment section, I am proud to be a Black American. But if you are really proud, if that is hard for you to do, just drop a fist emoji, a black fist emoji down there in the comment section. That is not that we were together until this point. If you've got any idea, anything that you want to add to this conversation, just drop it down there in the comment section. And don't forget to share this video to your friends, family members, and anybody who can be interested in watching this video. See you next time. Ciao.